Hey everyone, hope you're all staying well. Hey, welcome back to Ballymullin Farm. Beautiful winter's day here on the farm today. Just carrying out a job which I needed to actually do a little while ago. I'm a little bit late getting it done, but so that is to plant a cover crop on our potato patch. So the idea of a cover crop has lots of different purposes. One of the main ones, since we are farming or trying to grow the potatoes organically, is that we can't use any herbicides. So by planting a cover crop on that ground, keeping it covered over winter reduces the amount of weeds that will be there for next spring when we plant the potatoes again. Also, you tend to choose crops that or plants I should say, that will help put fertility back into the ground. So the main crop is going to be oats. The main reason for that is it's an easy to establish and fast growing, and you can get some pretty good feed off it for your animals once it's growing. But also I'm going to chuck some red clover in there, and red clover is a nitrogen fixer, as most people know with legumes. So that will be putting nitrogen back into the ground that can then hopefully be used for the growing potato crop at a later date. So basically what we're planning on doing is we will plant it now. So it's just right at the start of June now, so it should have gone in a little bit earlier, but getting it in the ground now. We will then leave that to grow, and then we will graze it probably early September. So that will mean they obviously get a feed from it. Their dung and urine will then be left on the area where we are going to plant it, so which is all obviously added fertility, and they will also trample anything they don't eat into the ground, and then we will come back and plough it in. And I'm hoping by having a cover crop there with an annual crop rather than a perennial sort of established pasture, it means that we can then find it a lot easier to plough that back in and when we get ready to plant potatoes next year. And I think that will mean hopefully that we'll have a lot less sod to deal with that like we did this year, since we were going out of permanent pasture into potatoes. If you watched our earlier video about planting potatoes, I sort of explained there how we try to grow spray free, and part of that is part of the challenge of that, or some of the problems associated, is that then you've got a bit of sod left over, which then can be a problem with causing weeds growing during the potatoes. So hopefully this year, with growing a cover crop, oats should be an easy one to plough back in after the cows have grazed it, and we should have a nice clean area to plant spuds into next time. So as I mentioned at the start, so the main crop is going to be oats. So these are forage oats, so it's not the sort of oats that you would get, sort of rolled oats, or that you'd grow for grain. They're grown for grazing by animals, usually cows in wintertime. And then secondly, I'm going to chuck in some farmlands, relish red clover. Red clover is a pretty awesome plant for fixing nitrogen, which then causes a symbiotic relationship with the other plants growing in the crop, and they can use that nitrogen that it sucks down from the atmosphere, and they can use that to better their growth. So I'm going to chuck a bit of that in there. So I've decided just to chuck the red clover here on top of the oats, because I feel like as we're working our way along, it'll probably bounce its way down and mix through. So it's not going to be a perfect science. Obviously it would be better if it was a pre-mixed mix, but I think for what we're trying to do, I think it's going to work really well. Anyway, we will find out. It's not a hugely expensive lot of seeds, so if it's a bit clumpy or the clover's not sort of that even, it's not actually going to hurt it too much. Good thing about clover too, not being a grass, is that if we get a bit of it remain, once we plough back in next spring, so it's September, for planting the potatoes, it will actually be a help, not a hindrance, so that it'll continue fixing nitrogen from the atmosphere, and it will also probably create a little bit of ground cover along the tops of the ridges, which will stop other weeds from growing. And at the same time, it's not something like a grass which is going to cause big clumps when you're trying to ridge the potatoes, or also when you come to harvest them later. So planting today with my Massey Ferguson 732 multi-purpose seed drill. So this is basically, well, exactly the same as the earlier Ferguson one, still painted grey obviously. Basically the only difference is it has a Massey Ferguson badge to it. So this was supposedly the first seed drill on the market in the world that was one person use. So before that you needed a second operator standing on a board along the back, and he would turn the drill on and off, put it in and out of work. So the great thing about the Ferguson one, it came along, so it's 3-point linkage, 3-point linkage mounted I should say. When you lift the hydraulics up, it obviously lifts your discs out of work, so it's just sitting down at the moment because the hydraulics have gone down, now the tractor's turned off, but it'll lift the discs out of work. And also through this little mechanism just on the side here, it will disengage the drive, so you're not driving along with seed running out when you don't want to be. So I've just got to have a read up in the book here, work out what setting I need to set it on. So I've got about half a hectare here that I grew potatoes on, and I bought a 40 kilo bag of seed, so that makes it about 80 kilos to the hectare, so I think that should be okay, hopefully. It's a bit lighter than what you normally grow oats for, say, a crop for wintering cows on, but that's sort of not the purpose of what we're wanting. I think it'll still be enough for ground cover, some feed value in springtime, and then more importantly we can sort of keep the weeds down in the meantime, and then plough that crop back in when we're ready to plant potatoes. So using one of my Massey Ferguson 65s today. This one I restored my third kid's nearly 10, so yeah, about 10 years ago now. So it's been a really good tractor. I mean, any tractor that you restore and then actually use, unfortunately gets a bit scruffy looking again, but I really enjoy using it. I still think it looks pretty tidy. It runs really well. Bought this off a friend of mine who's sadly passed away now, Les Whedon. So he used to be a tractor mechanic in Stratford. It actually belonged originally to his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law, when he quit farming, was going to scrap it because he told Les that it was stuffed. Tractor was wrecked, engine made funny noises and everything. It just turned out that it needed a head gasket, so Les put a new head gasket in it, got it running, and then sold it to me, and I've restored it, as I said, about 10 years ago. Awesome. So like all Ferguson and Massey Ferguson implements, the seed drill comes with its own instruction manual, and it goes right through, tells you how to set it up, different wheel settings for different crops. So I'm not sure how well you can see that chart, but it's a 13 row machine, but for some crops you don't use all rows, so this describes how many coulters you leave in or shoots you leave in for different crops. But what I'm looking at today is delivery rates. So if you can see there, it's got an idea of delivery rates, and it comes, each drill came with these seeding charts, so we'll make sure I use the right one. Yep, that's the one there. So I'll have to get a ruler in a minute, but basically you work out from pounds per acre. You work through your row spacing, so we're, I believe, 7 inches is our row spacing, and then you push it through whatever crop you're wanting to plant, and whatever it ends up on, that tells you your regulator setting, which is down here in T. So I'll get onto that. I'm just going to shoot back to the house and grab a ruler, and then I'll show you how that works. Cool, so I've just actually had a look in Claire's potting shed, managed to find a straight edge. It's actually a piece of aluminium left over from building one of the greenhouses. Doesn't need to be a ruler, just needs to be a straight edge. Okay, so this seeding chart is what you use for the Massey Ferguson and Ferguson drills, and it works for lots of different crops. So what I had to do, because it's an old machine, it is in pounds per acre instead of kilograms, sorry, per hectare. So I've converted kilograms per hectare to pounds per acre with the help of the internet, which tells me 80 kilograms per hectare is about 71 pounds per acre. Okay, so I think I'll do 70 pounds per acre just to be easier. So what we do is we find 70 on this bottom chart here, which is the seeding rates, pounds per acre. So 70 is right there. So we put our straight edge on, start on 70. Then we need to go through on this scale here, which is row spacing, through 7-inch rows, because we're a 7-inch row. So we'll go 70 through the 7, and that works out right there, which is about 38. So what we then do, start in that same spot with our straight edge. We go down through here, through Oats, through the Oats mark. So from the 38 through the Oats, try and get it as close as possible with our straight edge. Where are we? Just check that through the Oats one. It's pretty close. Mark where we are here, and that works out regular setting 21. So very, very close to regular setting 21. Alright, so these are our regulators. It's got 2 regulators, one for each side. So it's a 13 row machine, so it's 6 and 7. One regulator controls 6 shoots and one controls 7. So I'm not sure how well you can see on that little brass plate there, but so this is 20 here, so I'll probably set it round about there. So we've got to back off our little locking nut, and it might take a little bit of whacking because it doesn't get adjusted that often. What are you chickens doing? Please don't steal my oats. So that's about 19. How's that? Where are we? There we go, that's 20. Do our little locking nut back up again. And I will do the other one too. Yeah, so that is in theory now all calibrated. We will find out. Hopefully we don't have too much seed left over, or hopefully we don't run out of seed. So the area we're planting today, obviously, was, as I said earlier, is where we had our potatoes this year. So the reason we're getting it in a little bit late, as I said, is we have only recently just dug the last of our own potatoes, and that's just because we've been really busy. We've had a lot of stuff on. So I've been through this with the rototiller a few times, just to knock any of the knobs left by the ridges off and break up any of the sod. Hopefully it'll mean that it doesn't really get too much of a chance to the sod or weeds to re-establish before the oats can take over, and it's also leveled it. So I will get into it, and yeah, I'll stop along the way and check how progress is going. But Yeah, so I'm about halfway through and it's actually working really good. Really enjoy using this Massey Ferguson / Ferguson seed drill. So it fluffs the soil up really nicely. You can see a few oats there coming along. So what I will probably do once I'm finished is just run the Cambridge roller over it. It's really cool to see here. I'm sure you can see by my finger. So there is some clover seeds on top of the ground. So one thing you've got to be really careful with planting clover is not putting it too deep, since it's such a little seed. So it'll be a little bit of trial and error. We'll find out, I guess, how much of it germinates. Hopefully a fair amount of it will. But yeah, that's the idea of just running a Cambridge roller over it carefully, is just to roll the ground, give it a nice firm seed bed. Some people will run harrows or something over it, but I just don't want to bury that seed too much, especially that clover seed. So I'm just going to crack on, finish the drilling now, and then yeah, I'll grab the roller after that. There's a little bit of stone in it, as you can see here. So what I thought I would do, so yeah. So these little ones here aren't too bad. Some of these bigger ones can cause a bit of trouble. So I thought I might roll it, and then I'll whip round in another day or two when I get a chance and just pick up any of those decent sized ones. And the main reason for that is I'm hoping, or not hoping to, sorry, I may decide to mow the oats prior to sort of ploughing and putting the spuds back in, so I don't really want to have stones sitting around on the surface at that stage. We'll find out. I'm not sure yet whether, hopefully I'm hoping the animals will just be able to graze it down enough and I won't need to do that, but it's always an opportunity if we need to. Hey, so all done there now. Really happy with how that went. Harry Ferguson's engineers must have really known what they were doing back in the 50s when they wrote the instruction manual, because the seed rate worked out almost perfectly. Just a tiny bit left in there after the last run. So that's all for this video. I'm going to shoot off now and grab the Cambridge roller before it gets dark. It's probably not something you need to watch. It's not the most exciting thing, but yeah, I will do another video again shortly once the oats are up, just to show you how they're coming along, and then later on again in springtime I'll do another one just explaining how we're going to graze the oats off, and then obviously plough them back in and make them that green fodder before we plant potatoes. But for the time being, thanks heaps for watching, and hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.